Welcome back, friends, to EU League. Game number 1 about to begin. TT9 versus Heroic. Very excited to see how TT9 fare today, but also Heroic coming off of a, I guess, failure in the grand final, in NPL finals.
Ooh, you might upset them calling them that.
No, he's not upsetting them because it's true.
It's a failure because they should be winning it. Come on, man. What is this, NA League? We don't talk about
Aren't
that.
they just saving strats now? Wasn't, you know, they were playing tier 3? Surely you saved
You
strats.
sound like Fabian. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about this first game. And I want to see, first of all, what TT9 has to offer. Because every time I look at this roster, I'm like, oh my God, this is diamond in the rough. They just need some time to warm up and get into it.
I think so, Milosh. I go in on TT9 a lot. And, you know, Nico's often in my Twitch chat saying, why are you bullying me? And honestly, I don't bully them. But I think that they had a massive amount of improvement to produce. They've improved, I would say, in terms of performance.
Since the first split.
Since the first split, since the second split even. They've improved in terms of performance, but it's been no wins again. Unfortunately, 2 losses coming in against M&M and Rogue. The one factor that I would say is actually really good for this team is the fact that they've had a little bit of a role swap. They've been getting a mission going up next to Exodus as well, playing together as more of a duo. That's actually freed them up. It's freed a mission up as well, as to not be the hard carry of this team. And I think they can continue, they can improve, they can upset teams. But again, it's looking like it might be a little bit of a rough stage for them.
Yeah, it just feels the same story as what I think we had last week, where if a mission isn't there, what do they have really to offer? Until we see a game where a mission's actually just having a stinker and everyone else is performing and they win, then that'll kill that narrative. But until then, you always look to a mission. And if a mission isn't there, who is there? Because I think, you know, again, Exodus, you know, maybe put him a bit closer towards a mission. Is that going to rub off on him? Is it going to make him a bit better? I'm not too sure. But
I hope so.
For TT9, again, it's going to be another difficult game, which I think is what you have to keep in mind. They've had quite tough opponents so far.
I think the big thing for TT9, just quickly, Milosh, is that they've struggled with map pool. Now, we'll go on in probably the map bans about their map pool. The last 2 times that they played up against Heroic, they've been absolutely bullied in the map ban phase, and they've been exposed for their shallow map pool.
Okay, well, now what about Heroic on the other side? And we have the scoop from the insider man who was at the NPL finals in York. Were there viewers there that were there in person?
Nope,
Well,
just the players.
You were there, and that's what
Demo.
matters.
I was there.
Well, Demo, what can you say about Heroic?
Not good enough. I'll be honest.
Fair.
Not good enough. Sure, you can use the same old question. Oh, we're a tier 1 team in a national division. We're saving strats. We've got bigger fish to fry. We have majors to focus on. We don't care about this league. Load of nonsense. Let's be honest, right? It's a load of nonsense. You're playing this game. You're playing to win. No matter what it is, you're going in to win. If they cared that much, they'd do what Navi did. They'd drop out. They wouldn't be playing it. Heroic went there. They wanted to win it. You know this side wanted to win it. Grizzly's been playing in our national division for 6 seasons now. Everyone else has won it. You know, the Navi boys, they won it. M&M boys, they won it. These were the only, you know, professional UK players that did not win their own nationals. And we know they wanted it. And it just wasn't good enough. I think you can, you know, again, like I said, you can bring it down to we're saving strats. There were just basic fundamentals that were not being done well by Heroic. There were throws, like 3v5s, just being tossed away. I was able to actually listen into Heroic and, you know, listen in the same room with them and hear their communication. Very, very shallow comms. There was not a lot of fight, you know, really a lot of passion. It felt as if at times that actually 10-Star were the professional team who were up for it.
But they're still, you know, winning. That's the thing. They're winning. They're getting points. And, you know, it was not like it's an easy one to go up against G2, beating them in the first Playday, beating Navi also. Yes, OT, but Navi is a completely different beast now.
There's a lot of redeeming factors for Heroic. As much as they did kind of troll the Nationals on Sunday, which they did, there's 2 big signs for me that I really like about Heroic. The first one is the playstyle that they introduce, where they've got the 2 backline, the 3 at the front. And then the second one is the fact that they're actually on a winning streak. They're playing very well inside of a UL, and they're very effective, they're very confident. So I want to see that more from them, you know, going into Playday 3 and onwards.
Let's see what experience they've gathered from playing there. And they are playing in York, by the way, right now.
Yep.
So that's an extra thing for Heroic to kind of play along with in their matchup. Which map, though, will we be on for this first series out of 5? For today, it's TT9 that'll have the last say. They remove Chalet, take us to Villa, where they start off on attack. Heroic picking defense, which is definitely very normal. The demo, what do you think about this?
The only map that they beat 10-Star on in that best-of-5 grand final. So I suppose that's something to look at. But even still, it was not the cleanest Villa that you can say. I mentioned about 3v5s. There was a lot of those that were happening to Heroic, where they were losing easy rounds. One thing I will say about Heroic is I think Benja is... I got to watch a lot of him over the weekend. He's so good. Like, I'm sitting there watching him, and I'm mesmerized by the things that he can do. I've never seen someone who can rack up multi-kills like he can. If he starts off with a spawn peak, there's a big likelihood he'll get an ace. The guy, he just infused with momentum. It's unbelievable.
One thing that I will say about the maps is actually it's very surprising that Heroic banned away Bank. It just shows that they've fallen off a little bit on that map, which has allowed TT9 to get away from their small map pool. It's allowed them to get on one of their favourites of Villa. However, TT9 did play Villa last week against Rogue, and Rogue actually banned away the Sledge, was it? It was either Sledge or Ayana. Took another set of nades away, and it really scuppered TT9's game plan on the attack.
Well, from this point now, there's so many variables that we have to think about that I don't think would be fair for me to ask you, who do you think will take this?
I went with Heroic, but you can ask me anyway. I went with Heroic, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was TT9.
I wasn't going to, as I previously stated.
I'll just give my opinion anyway, Mila.
Good. Who asked?
Nobody, but I'm still here anyway. So, who's the real winner?
These streamers.
The viewers.
On that note, let's toss it then to our casters. TT9 versus Heroic to kick it all off on Villa. It's Hap and M. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milosh. It is, and the opinions were shared, but only the result matters at the end of the day. Top of the board versus close to the bottom. Who's going to be the one that finds the points?
That is going to be the important question that we will have answered over the next hour or so. But what we can say is what was just said on the desk as well. Villa, a very, well, solid map for TT9. They really like to play here. They come back time and time again, but also the only map that Heroic was able to win in their national finals earlier. So, if there is anything to go at here, it should be quite explosive with both these teams feeling confident on the map. Now, Heroic off on the defense, probably favored as a result of it, considering the true nature of Villa.
The true nature of Villa.
Yep.
It is one as well, where we've also got the true nature of Heroic. It's a roster that can get itself moving. It's a roster that, sure, they won in the national finals, but it wasn't without error. It wasn't without a couple of questionable moments. And there's only, as Demo sort of said, how many times can you say whether they're playing to win or playing to whatever? You're in a finals, you want to win it. That's just what it is. And to sort of come off the back of that now and roll into this, the reason there's no cams, as we said, is that they're in York. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to get it sorted. But how do you hit the energy with today? How do you sort of realize, well, we've lost this, should we win this match today, or are we a bit down in the dumps?
That's it, right? And of course, they know themselves as well. They missed out on that last major. They really want to be going back towards November major this stage, and that means they need to continue performing. Currently, they are in that first spot. If they win here today, then that is 3 out of 3 out of the 9 play days that we'll have, which will definitely set them up well. But if you recall, that is when they started dropping off last stage as well. They got a very solid start, and after that, it all sort of started slipping, and they found themselves just outside that top 4. And that is something they need to prevent from happening. That is something they need to be vigilant for, to make sure that they can continue in the rhythm and the pace that they are currently starting to build up in the European League. And it is up to the players themselves and Mr. Officer as well, of course, as the coach behind them, to make sure that they do stay in that positive mindset. Like, okay, we lost that one, but we will be focusing on the European League right now. It's a different league. It is a different result. Let's see if we can separate those two. And thus, as they start off in Aviator Games, I instantly see the clash on the board from Grizzly. It's an operator I do like to see from time to time, because it is proven to be difficult for some of the European League teams to actually deal with that operator effectively with some of that utility.
All right, on these removals, on this drive, TT9, what do you have for us? Because so far we've seen not enough. We haven't really had that pressure that we've wanted from this roster. There was obviously changes that came across the board, and there's little sparks, little moments, and there's a mission. There's the sort of huge performance he can put in. They were lifted by it on the first play day and missed it on the second, comparatively, but here, what sort of drive are we going to get from them? And in response, what do we get from Heroic?
The thing is, though, if you go to TT9, you cannot truly and only rely on a mission having these pop-up games. It's not consistent enough. It's not viable enough. not in the long run, at least. Like, yes, he might be able to carry along for 1 or 2 games, but you cannot expect him to be dropping 20 kills and 1v5 ace clutches every single playday.
Grizzly playing the clash role as a mission suffers first, I was going to say, but Melo's actually the one gets dropped in the engagement. They're able to pull themselves back. The pressure from underneath is caught out. Benja gone. Slapped around the side. They expected that rotation. They're able to at least get one player up. The second grenade, though, it could spell the end if it's a little bit close. It's a little bit close. Doom is the other one. 3 different heroic players have found the wrong end of engagement so far already. TT9, they're putting this pressure all from one player underneath. Across, obviously, the explosive, the pressure from the angle, and now this, the swing. It's going to be a lot of work here. The Clash is going to try and hold on to as much time as possible. Pulls back away from this. The impact and the pressure of the grenades over the top drops the ADS. There's obviously still 2 grenades in the pocket of Scyther. They can try and keep putting the pressure here on this side if they want, but with the 5 versus 3, they have a lot working for them.
And for sure, Exodus now will finish off Melo as well, and that brings it back to a 5-on-2. With which one of these operators is carrying a big shield, and Grizzly will now swap over to the SPSMG9, deals a little bit of damage. Juno will finish off that player. Exodus does go quite low, but TT9 still with a massive advantage here.
Well, they're inside the site. They're looking to put the pressure onto the player, and Amision finds it. Grizzly is caught out, leaving just Uno alone and by themselves. Trapped around the main stairs. They're inside the site itself. They don't currently have the kit. That's one blow to them, and Uni might be able to put some pressure, and does. Nico tapped off the window. 50 seconds, though. They have so much time to either try and formulate the fight or find the player here. Hopped out, broke that one gate. Uno's going to step a bit closer. The gate going down reveals his rough positioning. The drop, is it going to be into open hands? There's a mission trying to hold the angle. There's the fight, and there's a TT9 round.
I just wanted to say, started off with the round saying, like, you cannot rely on Amision every single round. You cannot rely on him every single game to pop off like he did. And he starts off with an injury and 2 kills as the very opening of this game. So he definitely starts off strong, looking to prove otherwise that he can indeed carry TT9 across for the majority of these. It's a good start for the Russian team, and with that, they hope to carry that momentum into the next round. Aviator Games will be rerun by Heroic. Of course, spotting out some of the mistakes that happened, stacking up a bit too much, being prone to these grenades after you just suffered from some verticality there. Also trying to go for these re-peaks whilst clearly not having pressure from both above and horizontal at the same time. And thus, Heroic, they have faith, they can rerun this, they have faith that they can, you know, make sure that they get the actual victory out this time.
False start, I think, is how it runs there for Heroic. Full start, and we'll see if, I guess, there'll be the drive-through of anything else behind it. Sens now in the pocket of WTG. They've got him with the kit as well, the player, and alongside Exodus, who's going to potentially be offering some support. There is something pacey potentially on the boards here for the approaches. Another AVG, and we're looking at a few hatches that find some curious lean-ins. The ones around 90, the one that they can otherwise put the pressure onto if they want to hit statuary as well. It's all about a bit of pace, and yes, study too, but that might be the most dangerous. Although this, instead of taking the 90 hatch, why not the window and the door itself? The Sens can draw some attention. A straight dive all the way through potentially. After these Aruna get burnt, this could be a 3-2-1 situation, and Exodus is waiting for that count. Scyther's in, Scyther's out. Doom has it. Exodus is up through the window. The roll of the Sens is a little bit creative, and Benj is able to get one more out of it. Exodus now caught on the backswing. It was a bold play, but not a play that counted by the end of it. The reverse of the score from before, and the Clash is now that monolith mountain nightmare. Amision gets one as his way out the door. He's got to find another 4 to find the perfect ace clutch here, and at least he's got time.
He's definitely got some time, and as he went for the aggression, it didn't pay off. Amision still trying to find some isolated shots here. Quickly has to throw that grenade through before the laser gate activates again, but a magnet will be catching it off, so no joy with that explosive. Has to rotate around, and will do so from below. They are aware. Grizzly has been sent down. Just a slow emission if he does decide to come down and up these stairs, as a small rotation is called, headed towards the red side. He's looking to find an entry somewhere, make some noise. Gotta be aware of his position. The guns and the shield are slowly shifting position as Doom has heard that perfectly. Another Magna will catch that grenade and will not find or give any further information to Emission. And especially with the Clash pushing him down now, it's just so much time that will be wasted slowly but steadily. And as the roamers are coming down from the bottom floor now as well, Emission is truly in a bit of a pickle here.
Well, more than a pickle.
Yeah.
I think an end.
An end to it. And that leaves us equal. They indeed spotted out there was some mistakes that happened in that first round. They decided to run it back, and it paid off for Heroic as they find their round.
Thank you, Mission.
Not sure for what.
Just thanking him.
Maybe for not clutching up against them.
I mean, to be fair, wouldn't be his first this season of an ace clutch. No problem.
I still have no clue.
He knows he can do it at any point. He can turn it on.
Yep.
He has that power.
Still, like, I didn't believe it when I saw it. It wasn't Chalet in the basement. He was literally surrounded by M&M players all over the place, and somehow he came out alive. Last man standing. And that is when everybody went wild, and that is also when we're like, okay, but if this is the reason, if this is how you're going to win these rounds, then that's not going to be a viable strategy. So everybody needs to fire up a little bit, like Emission currently does. Because only Exodus is a player with a kill, besides Emission on the side of TT9 right now. A bit more spread out on Heroic. That's what you like to see.
Well, the second round there, I mean, it was a pocket play. They went for something a bit sharp, and they...
Oh, they got him. That's not going to detonate.
WTG takes care of Uno early on. Gone. You assume the gadgets are down, but that one went down without any more aplomb than a bomb could. As I was saying, though, it was a pocket play. They tried to full send it even when the wind was already taken out of their sails. At that point, the boat isn't really going to go on a steady rotation on the ocean. Here, Benja, he's trying to draw some attention underneath. He's a player that can. He got a couple of sparks into the previous round here. Emission up round onto the stud, he says. He's going to swing for the fight. There it is, the Wamai disc. Oh, and the pickup from Wamai themselves. Mello swings onto the door itself, finds the alternate angle, and here, this is a Heroic that we desperately missed in the first round.
When this kind of aggressiveness, the snappiness when they do decide that a player has located themselves. Openings will be made. Bathroom is taken up above by TT9. Grenades are being tossed in, but some are caught by magnets. Don't walk in yet, Sider, just in time. C4 pops, finds Nico. Somehow they're starting to fall on the TT9 side on the top floor. They're heavily being contested out here as June retakes.
Oh, WTG is down though. Scyther, he's able to be tucked into a corner, looks for the next engagement. There's two of them on the stair set, but a pre-fire pulls them back. The shotgun opens up the angle behind. They've decided and opted to drop back instead. Leave June. See if he can try and take another engagement. It's Benja through the floor! Benja with the calls and the idea gets the double from underneath, and Cypher is left for a second before Doom wipes him up.
That's not just the calls, that was the beep beep, beep beep proximity alarm that has been going off there for like the entire round. They knew someone was out there, and because of the fact that this plays that close on the window, well, chances are there's about to be a pickup out there, and that shotgun shell, two of them coming through the floor, able to pick up the kills. And Heroic, even though they lost the very entry fight from the spawn peek attempt with the C4, still managed to come out on top as they aggressively try to retake and hold on to that top floor, not wanting to give it away to TT9. Successfully achieved so.
The further and further we get from that first round, the more you're sort of like, who was that? Because it wasn't the Heroic that we've seen over these past two. TT9's kept up a good pace. There was obviously the procs, as you said, not being dropped there was a bit of a nightmare. The positions and the play, they're still getting into it though. They still have these engagements. However, Heroic have started slapping back. And it's been a very powerful response. Down to Kitchen, down to this mid-4 place here. Heroic on their tertiary rotate. They're going to give themselves, I was going to say, a little bit of a lock-off here onto the sitting area, but instead might play with a little bit more stretch.
TT9, I mean, you are on the attack. All you really need is 2 or 3 rounds to find yourself in a good split.
What?
That was a drone, right?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Target practice. I
have no idea what that was.
I'm like looking at this like there's
Fresh.
also no Mozzie.
Fresh, my boy, I'm going to need you to break that one down for me. It was, even then, a Mozzie at that far out, how would it have got there?
It would have been like not
Whatever.
destroyed but disabled afterwards.
He's able to look for a fight on the door. Mission gets a little bit of a scrape on a big double, but pulls away before the painting on Art Studio is on the Blood of Doom. He knows that TT9 can respond with multiple angles pretty quickly, so instead Mission keeps driving, keeps applying the pressure. WTG has a catch on a drone that gets dropped by the opponents. This time round, where can you go, Doom?
TT9 slowly starting to put some pressure down, but as we continue talking a bit on that drones, they only have 5 left now. No, not even 4 left currently. So there's not a lot of information they can gather in these next 2 minutes, which will result into some face checks to come out, and that is not ideal, not in a 5v5, not when there's a pulse on the board that can just feed all your information out to the rest of the defenders, and with them hiding in sneaky corners and bathtubs as well on that top floor, this could be a slaughter to come through on the TT9 side.
Steady pings, steady catches, steady reveals, but this is all information fed and filtered by the magical gun of Uno, the pulse round to the pressure in the play. Exodus trying to get a catch on any of the destruction on this wall itself. They've got themselves a bit of a retreat on the back line. I'm not sure if the hatch is open, but the stairs are still there as an option. There's nobody currently on the window on the far side of Aviators, or Solarium even. Astronomy. The pressure starts to bounce away. Now there is that repel. Nico has taken up the mantle, makes things a lot trickier for the player inside the bathtub. Doom's taken the hatch. He's not going to stick around. Have they found that one bathtub player? Well, they found a fight on the stairs. Doom almost gets scrapped, but somehow wins the scrap. Benj is now in a good permission. Mission gets the pick up on the far split. Will he still stay squeaky clean?
It's going to be the big question. Mission will go down. That was from up above. Grizzly retaking will be punished though by Scyther, but you still have him thrown in the bathtub there. Benja just hiding, and he's not going to stand up until they are right next to him. That is when he will strike. Uno still there with the heartbeat sensor, is going to be able to give him information as there he is. Benja will take down one, has the top floor still under control, and there's 2 TT9 players left, of which one is not going to get struck from above. It's Nico that will get the turn on him. 8 seconds left. Can he clutch this out? It's a 1v2. Doesn't find the first though. Uno locks it off.
Oh, I mean, there was a lot of resilience towards that top floor there. Heroic. They had the man in the bathtub hiding for the whole time. They also had Grizzly go for a retake. Doom winning a fight on a stair set that he shouldn't have, but at least the Mission was there to pick up the pieces directly afterwards. And this is the thing about TT9, is they keep being in the right place, but Heroic also have a habit of being in the wrong place for them. And it's just something that kept on biting them multiple times throughout that round. 3 in a row now, Heroic. They're setting themselves up for a decent sprint here on the second half. As you said, you only really need a couple on your attack here onto Villa, but that second is looking tougher and tougher for TT9.
It definitely is, and I hate to bring it back, but by the moment that they started to take the top floor that mattered, right? Like they took Statuary, they took Trophy, the bedroom. They only had 3 drones left, and they were all placed. Now, I think those are placed in flank watch positions. That should have caught off Grizzly, fair enough, but you will not be able to find the players that are hiding in these little corners. On the staircase, for example, looking to push up when the time is right. That is where they struggled. That is where they took most of the scraps. And then when the chaos was all there, that's when Grizzly rotated up, got himself a kill, almost a second as well. So you're really going to make sure that you're careful with your drone game.
Okay, TT9, your opening bout and pressure was on this side, and the only round you've got so far, and so far it was a very well put together round. Heroic, they had a good response before, but we've gone back to a little bit more of a steady opening position and proposition here. Some of that sprayed through and some attention paid towards the stair set. That was that first point of pass. There's no clash though. This time around, clash has been removed, swapped out for a slightly different hold here, something with a bit more energy as Heroic have this stretch over to red and Benja stretched all the way over towards Pantry and Prep on the far side.
I want to know if there's a flank drone ready to catch Benja if he does decide to move up laterally towards these TT9 players up on that first floor. Mission gets taken out by Uno from the main staircase here. Well done with the SMG. Knows there is still pressure coming down, though, as impact landed on top of the barbed wire, not on the Goyo canister right behind it. Important to mention, because they will still be able to detonate that now and slow down the attack if they do decide to come through. That's some feet being spotted out by Uno.
It's an awkward fight, because if you can see his feet, chances are I can probably see a bit of you. There's Scyther caught out by Melo, took the drop on the hatch itself, and the double for the trouble. Exodus gets Grizzly. Exodus gets at least one more, but Benja was there for support. And WTG, all that's left once again, Heroic. They take a gamble. They took the drop from the study hatch, hoping and sort of assuming, well, all the attention is being paid towards Uno. How do we know that they're not there? And, well, they found out with their face, and their face then found two of their opponents. A minute on, WTG has 3 more players to take through, but structurally they've done really nothing. There's 1, there's a response, there's 4 for Heroic.
TT9 nowhere to be found in these last couple of rounds. Yes, they started to put up some good pressure onto the main stairs, but again, not ready for the flanks that came through. Both Benja and Melo, well, Melo dropping, Benja coming up laterally, able to just shut them down as soon as they put up a little bit of pressure onto Uno there. And that puts it 4-1. And we said it, 2 or 3 rounds is what you're looking for on the attack to find yourself in a decent position to head into their second half. And that means that this is the moment to strike for TT9. This is the last opportunity they will have to find that second round on their attacking half. But for now, Heroic has been walking all over them. They're just completely in charge, bar that first round that we have seen. And TT9 unable to find a response. Solid enough to at least put these rounds on the board.
It is a game of 2 halves.
It is, yeah.
It's time to sort of remind that, but well, I guess if one of the biggest aspects that we've talked about is TT9 losing sight of the loose players of Heroic and getting a little bit blinkered towards the route that they want the horse to run, well, that's something where you might not encounter that so much on your defense. You have that as a little bit of freedom, the movement, the width, and the chance to try and pull from the intel placed rather than the active intel you're trying to grab. Here, though, 1 more before the split would do them absolute wonders, and it's been absolute sort of Heroic since then. The round that we saw here before did stumble quite early on.
It definitely did. And thus they need to change. They need to find a better way to approach this. And I mean, it all started out with these quick swings that came through from Melo. And Mission now receiving a bit of pressure from the top floor. Saw an elbow. The challenge has been aborted by the Heroic player that just fell off, not wanting to stick around there, made his presence known. That means they need to go for a full clear up on that top floor now, because they will not feel safe otherwise going into the actual site.
Melo's playing the position he did before as well. He's got the chance to swing either side of China towards the pressure onto the pantry doors. There's the ping, and Emission's moved much deeper than he did last time and gets into an engagement. Can't get the cement down. There it is, finally on the tail end. But look, 2 Heroic players want to try and make amends. Grizzly almost looks the wrong way, takes the kill, but Nico gets Uno at the same second. Benja pulls a little bit away from the rotation that he wanted to make. They've all headed up to the top. The bottom floor has fallen. And this is a much better start here for TT9.
Do they know, though, that this bottom floor is going to be completely clear because they still have a flank watch and Nico up on that top floor. The rest of TT9 is all downstairs. They could just try and retake that, but of course the side is trophy statuary, so it doesn't really help them much. You can maybe play with some of the grenades that you have on site, but that's only 2. Is it worth it? Taking the risk, potentially running into a rogue member still out, being out there from Heroic?
You can see they're trying to just get the last pulls to break the hard wall and make things even more awkward for the remaining defenders just to sit and survive on the far side. The breach is about to come through from the ex-Kairos. They're just trying to find the last bit of jam, and I guess that might be the response. There's at least some of the breach and the pushback of the players. The final step, Valk's trying to find a fight through the gap. Cannot quite go reverse fishing for standard. The spray through, Doom on the rotate. There's Benja, though, biting from underneath, takes Exodus. The C4 goes for a catch, but nobody's currently in the bathroom. A bit premature, but TT9 was playing cautious. Now's the time. Move into the space and see what they can do.
Still a player downstairs, though. They have retaken that ground, and that means they can start coming up from the bottom again. And if they do decide to go for an execute from the astronomy room, that could be massive. If the flank is in time, June will find it first. Is looking to go aggressive onto Saito right now, who hopes to swing himself, but he's about to walk into a crossfire. Finds one, but gets punished instantly after. WTG brings it back to a one-on-one up against Benja. You heard Demo praise the boy earlier on. Now he is waiting patiently. 9 seconds before this plan needs to come down. The diffuser only just in hand, and that means there's about 3 seconds to spare for Benja to close off this round. He gets the pings, he knows where he is, and he will finally find that kill as well. It's 5-1 for Heroic.
It was all watched by a Bulletproof. We saw it at about the 5-second mark, just as much as they definitely saw it. Popped around the corner, really sort of revealed at that point you've either got to try and throw yourself into a fight, but if it is where you think it might be, they've got the drop on you anyway, or try and tuck, hope for the plant, hope that they get a little bit antsy, swing you first. The timer was out, and now they're out of their attempts onto the attack. TT9, they get the sort of blessing of defense throughout this. Heroic, they have 2 rounds to try and shut it out. They're usually an all-or-nothing team, but we've seen them be close to all and it amount to nothing before.
Have to make sure that they approach this the right way. You can start this off with a bit of pace if you want to. That first round is often the way when you have the opportunity to surprise and shock your opposing team. But at the same time, Heroic, they might just want to close this off as soon as they can. They've had a long weekend behind their backs. They're instantly playing the European League right after. Can imagine if they want to close this off as effectively as possible, not give TT9 anyways back into this game. So they, Heroic, that is, can start focusing on the remainder of this stage.
Still, attack timeouts available for both teams. TT9 have the option, and they're going to see if they can try and at least get one before potentially taking it, or find themselves suffering with only the guarantee of overtime. Here, though, the leading on AVG, the pings and the players just toasted outside the bathroom. They have some of this thread of intel, some of this thread of an approach. But with double boxed off, you're looking towards this big sitting area, and Amision has the backline. June taken off as the early lead in there, still caught on a drone. A Twitch drone and one more for the trouble. He knows it's going to be a tricky route out, but does have a C4 for a quick escape.
The drone was half a second too late to save June there. He was trying to go in. He was trying to secure that ground. The drone a little bit too late. Could have saved June's life if that one came through just a little bit earlier. That is a bit of sloppiness we see there from Heroic side, and a bit too much of that could lead to these rounds starting to slip towards TT9 as Amision somehow barely escapes with his life. He's getting sapped as well, but it wouldn't matter too much. It's only single point of damage done. And as he still lives, takes it out, does a little bit of damage to Benja, but he lives on.
Both Grizzlies Twitch drones lost. The first they understand, the second there, maybe they thought he was more damaged than he truly was, and they tried to just push that little bit over the edge, but it doesn't do anywhere near as much as it used to. Benja here is looking to try and get some of this revenge, but we're looking at a minute 30 past, and all of the fighting has found itself sort of structured around here. Right underneath the site itself, there's still the pressure to put towards the building, and the top second story, they're pulling a bit further back. Benja wants to see if he can try and do a little bit more recon for his own drive here, as the rest of Heroic, they're starting to restructure, reformulate, and refocus. Exodus helping to cause some problems, creeping a bit closer, offer some support underneath. The swing player on the top of red as well gives them a route out.
Benja has no idea of where Exodus is currently at, and as he continues to go a bit more aggressive, they might cross paths out here as Benja is looking to move through the red hallway. She's holding top into piano, making sure there's no roamer out there, but he might find himself into combat as soon as Exodus opens up for the MX4 Storm.
Exodus suffers a little bit. He's battening down the hatches as best as he can, but tucked with only a little bit of heart between him. Benja's going for the swing, but he doesn't look to the side. It's Amision striking a second kill on the same spot as before. And now with Cypher under pressure on the red stairs, he's dropped their route out. It has been taken away from them, but you're looking at 15 seconds. They've still got to drive towards the plant itself. That grenade swings around, the kit goes cold. The smoke pops off a little late. WTG close with a shotgun, goes for the audio and doesn't quite get the full scrap. It's a drop shot swing round. There's the final hit, but 5, 4, 3, 2, no. TT9 get their first AVG and their first round since the very first round.
They got too caught up with trying to take care of a mission in that bottom floor. Not enough information coming and flowing through. Because if you remember, 3 drones taken out after the first engagement. A second Twitch drone following up. But after that, I didn't see a single drone rolling through that living room, trying to isolate the players that were out there. Because it was both Exodus and a mission. Whilst they might have only thought it could have been just a pulse. And there you see it, a tiny missed drone. The drone being half a second too late or June being half a second too quick, resulting in you being caught up in trying to take that area under control. Because you might just say, well, why don't you just hit the side instead? Well, that's because it's a C4 operator playing right there with a heartbeat scanner. He can find you anywhere you go. If you stall a bit too long up onto that top floor, either you're going to get yourself taken out before you can even go for the execute, or you will be taken out right as you try and go and attempt the plant. And that's when I wanted to get rid of him, but not committed enough to do so, thinking it was only one player, only committing once back yourself.
TT9, they have, as we said, the first round in a while, and they're going to see if they can try and drive that a bit further here. Instead on the top floor, the Thatcher. They showed it in the graphs before. He's had a little bit of a drop-off in the amount he's been played, but it might be because of he's just got a lot more times he can be played. Here is one of them. The drive and the support should make very quick work of any hard setup onto the wall itself, spraying through and looking for a little bit of an approach, but
Clement there now. WTG should definitely spot that, but if any other player wants to push up into the bathtub there, he might get blown up, so there's that.
The Selma's come across, the breaches, that should all pop off fine. Look, they're inside the site, they're spraying down. Benja moved behind it, but gets caught. Very important take. Doom's there on the door to get a quick revenge, and they're going to see if they can try and keep this. A shaky control of the site as Exodus gets the C4. Grizzlies round on the back line. They have the player caught up on stairs. There's one swinging their way from red as well. Can Uno try and put this kit down? He's going to see if he can get the stick on the far side. There's Grizzly suffering. The retake's coming across the board. Grizzly gets dropped. It's Uno with a post plant, but now with just the player on the window and Uno tucked around on the door, he's able to slowly slink himself. It's a 3 versus 2. They have the time to get themselves rebuilt here. They're looking for the fight as they're going for the pickup. Uno gets one, gets dropped by the second swing round. Just one from range and from distance. Oh, he's getting a little bit of damage done, just enough. Melu has the angle opened from earlier through. A very decent bit of play there. How are they going to try and get this caught out? This is the concern. Can they get a tricky, cheeky long arm angle? He's going for it. He's holding for it. Can he be caught? He can't be. There it is, though! I was about to say he can't be caught and sticks it, but Emision has very different ideas. Pops up, drops him down, and more than enough time for T.
Wanted to make sure he took that fight and dominated, so he had plenty of time to go for the defuse afterwards. 2 seconds to spare. If he would have stuck it, could have been quite dangerous. He could walk up into an angle where he can actually find you, so right call made by Emision as he finds yet another clutch. And now a tactical timer to be called by Heroic. 45 seconds to discuss. I mean, it did get the plant down. It's just that the cover wasn't quite there. They got taken out by TT9 on that site whilst they were trying to set up that control, never really being gifted a break. TT9 keeping that pressure up is absolutely crucial in that situation. So, well done to them. Now Heroic looking to find a difference that they can make over the next couple of rounds.
I mean, here it is, TT9, they're starting that fight back a round at a time, and Heroic know the importance of this, the tertiary site, and a site where they're able to get themselves in. Benja moving directly behind the breach, almost, you know, if you're running an offside trap of when it pops off versus where the player is compared to the line, it was almost caught out. He was that aggressive, and it can work, and did work for the first, but the quick response from Scyther there was that massive, devastating hit back. The other players tried to filter back and forth behind it, but again, the C4 popping off the positions of TT9, the clever angle to go on the retake on the side of red instead of just sort of throwing yourself at the problem. I really enjoyed how TT9 built themselves back into that round from what should have been pretty handily a heroic one.
All right. We head downstairs to kitchen and dining. TT9 looking to close the gap. They've done so by 2 rounds already, needing 2 more to equalize that score. Can they do it here? And will Heroic finally be able to strike and find gold and put themselves up on 6? Just a round away from picking up those 3 points and putting themselves in an even sturdier position up on that top spot as they look to make it to the November Major after just missing out on the Berlin one.
Heroic, as you sort of highlighted. Now's your time, lads. Let's see if they can try and piece this together. They have a threat on a loose player, a mission around the bedroom. Oh, in fact, no, it's not a mission around the bedroom. My apologies.
He's underneath it.
It's underneath it. But there is a player up there that they're trying to drive some information towards. It's this, though, the spread onto the back line.
Now, drones are still being taken out here. Heroic does have some information coming down from that IQ. Trying to figure out what it exactly is. Now, they know that was a Prisma Aegis scam, but they've spotted out the pulse earlier, so definitely will be aware of the fact that C4s could be coming in from the bottom.
It was Exodus that was playing on the top. If you've not noticed, sometimes we get logos above players, and sometimes we don't. Here, though, Exodus is forced very quickly off there. As I said, they had his number, and they wanted to make sure that he couldn't sit around on the bedroom on the far side. Now, can they try and move behind it? This is a much more cautious Heroic than what we've seen before at this point on either of the 2 rounds. They'd at least lost a body or 2, and there's the first for them. Benja gets 2, goes for 3, and well, nobody told him the LMG meta was over. But he's at least able to do some business with it. WTG does get dropped, and there's the swing around from Nico, and suddenly it's become a little bit of a fight back. Uno gets the lock-in, but gets locked out as a quick response to 2 versus 2. And even with the lead-in of a double kill within the site itself, TT9 once again have found themselves clawing this back to an even proposition.
I'm not even going to double kill. It was basically a triple kill. They downed a 3rd player out there before the trade finally came through. And they just get too greedy. They want to secure that kill, and now they're being taken out one by one by one. Only up to Grizzly and June now. A lot of damage done. June a little bit too late there on taking down the Valkyrie, rotating back into Memorial, so grenades need to be tossed in right after. Grizzly, though, with the MK14, looking to find an angle onto Saito as well, hoping to catch him if he rotates out, but he gets caught from above. Now it's only up to Nico, but he downs that diffuser yet again, and we're in another 1v1 situation.
29 seconds, Doom. He's got to try and find a route down. He's hoping to get gifted an angle from here, but now that's another 10 seconds less he's got to work with. One more grenade, rolled from the top and delivered to the back end of China, but he's able to pull himself away from that. The call on the cam, the change of pace in place. Nico's pulled himself out of there. He's not going to sit around and try and find out what a firefight happens because, well, they've got to get the kit and get it planted. He's looking for the fight. He's holding the stairs. He's going to swing his way around. Nico is long since out of there. They've just got to get himself pocketed. Nico's making the distance. He's pulled himself a little bit too far away from this. It's a gamble. It's a swing. It's a fight. It's Doom that's able to take it out. A difference of about 5 steps separates that from an easy pickup to a heroic round.
He thought it was being chased, and fair enough, but he got himself a little bit too far distance from the site, and as soon as that clock hit 0, he started to run. He definitely tried, but there was just enough time for Doom to get that kid on that ground, reset that timer to 45, and get the gun back up, most importantly. And that is now match point for Heroic. Right after the tactical timeout, needing 1 more in these next 3 to find 3 points.
Oh, it was only just though, wasn't it? And it still doesn't really feel like it should be only just. That sort of situation, the lead-in, the 2.5 kill from the side of it, and you're thinking, Heroic, this is their round. And against a lot of other teams, maybe it was, but TT9, they just keep pulling themselves back in.
They're complete top control. Benja walks in, gets a 2 kill and an injure. And then they just try and chase it too much. They were too aggressive, too greedy to lock in that kill. Whereas they could have done it from the top floor. They had it under control. You know exactly where that injury happened. But well, what's past is past. Managed to get the round in the end. And that is what is most important currently. You will work on those mistakes afterwards. And of course, it's been a very long weekend for Heroic. Played that best of 5 yesterday for NBL. And now up here on the first match of the day against TT9. This lineup does look like they might go quick though. There's a Ying on the board. We have the Amaru as well. There's, however, some magnets that need to be cleared. The flashbangs will do that. Nico on top of those stairs is supposed to hold that back. One smoke unfortunately pops back a little bit too much. But the push is about to come in.
Here it is. They've also got the sends. The swing comes around. The blind over the top. The first is dropped on the window, the same as it was before, but a response this time round as opposed to the TT9 push. It's starting to pull itself back. Exodus and WTG with a swing and a swipe each. Suddenly it's a 4 versus 2. Either side very locked out in a cold kit inside study. They maybe got a bit of a foot in, but the rest was instantly removed from the building. Heroic. They tried to sort of do a similar sort of swipe that TT9 tried. Both have failed, and, well, now at least they've got 2 minutes to have a bit of a conversation. TT9, there's 4 players that stand between Mello and the site.
This should be a conversation as well. Melo's just finding himself a way to parkour down, so he can still be in the fight a little bit. It's definitely doable. We've seen it before. And if you don't try, you'll never succeed, so... As he takes it a bit slower, smoke canisters are being tossed out. WTG playing on the door, Mission on his contact, on the hatch. Next smoke canister as well. He's definitely being kept at bay here. You can shoot it. Hello. Oh, now it detonates. But this is probably not going to go anywhere.
No, I have a feeling this might be the sort of drive and the rest of it. TT9, they're not going to overhand. I was going to say.
Out of ammo.
Out of ammo there. Caught out. Sprays through. A Mission gets out of there. The pulse isn't going to stick around. And, well, that's 30 seconds forced to play. They rotate round onto the far side of the stairs. The placement of the air jab and the placement of WTG. He was the constant threat there. Okay. A 4th round, it goes into the favor there of TT9. Heroic, to be honest, although it had similarities to the TT9 attempt at exactly the same site, Heroic has a habit of being on match point and trying a rush.
I mean, especially if you're 3 rounds ahead, there's a good opportunity you can go for it, and it might work, it might not. Now they still have 2 other rounds available to themselves to play this a bit more conventional, slow down the gameplay a little bit, be more methodical about it. But the thing that I've seen on the attack is that they might get a bit too greedy here and there. That is not that last rush round I'm talking about, but the rounds we've seen before that. And that is something they need to make sure is going to be out of that game style for these next 2 rounds. Because otherwise TT9 has a very good opportunity of bringing this back towards an overtime. And remember, we said it before, Siege is a game of 2 halves. TT9, they might have not had the best attacking half with just that single round, but that's all Heroic currently has on the board themselves as well. So TT9 looking to equalize that score in the next 2 rounds if they can.
Wow, they just need one more push here, Heroic, and you cement yourself at the top of the board for the day. You started the day there, but it was with, technically, 2 wins. 1 in the overtime, though, that probably shouldn't have been. So here, you need to really make a statement. Once again, got a clean 3 points because your end of the season was a bit of the scarped suffer from the previous split. Benja, he's been having a fantastic game so far. He keeps causing problems. It's just on the back of that, the problems seem to arise sometimes. I think a player with an LMG is a lesser seen sort of relic of 2 months ago.
Can still find its impact here and there like we've seen before. It's not like it became unplayable. It's just that the recoil kicks a bit harder than before.
Trickier to play.
It's trickier to play as a Mission finds Benja off the board. It's one top fragger that takes out the other and puts TT9 on its way towards a 5th round potentially.
The roll and the pressure. Once again with these Selmas, it was a bit of the game before, but there's a Bandit that has a game of his own. tricks out the big angle. They still have the one towards the default potential plant. However, it's not really one for cause of rotation here. They wanted to force out WTG's position on the far side, and that's going to come down to having to reevaluate this. You can put pressure underneath that wall as well. You can try and force them to be a little bit more awkward, but if it's not the plan A of the take, it means you've got to do a pretty much an entirely different take, which they're trying to work out right now.
Especially the way where they open it up and the height that they did it with. It's going to be giving them a pixel into the side. It's going to be enough to do some chip damage, but not enough to get an instant kill down. This, however, is going to be a better angle for Doom inside the walking closet. Has the opportunity to shut them down if they rotate back in from the landing to statuary side. So TT9 needs to be a bit careful with that, but Nico is approaching that fate we just talked about.
Second attempt on this, and at this point, the Bandit is slightly further away. They played onto the middle wall instead of the swing, just to give themselves this wider angle. They've realized that there was probably a high chance of them, again, stopping that single wall there. So instead of risking it, they thought, well, let's go against the expectations with one of the pocket ones left. Still time to drone out, try and apply some pressure here. They've got obviously one body left, and there's the big steady hold here. The player still tucked on the back line of Astro, one up the stairs for the swing too. TT9 are offering them nothing on this approach.
Like they should not give them any ground that they are in need of on that defense themselves. The big danger, however, is Grizzly coming in from that back. Now, yes, Nico is watching that, but do they have any information? That is the most important part. There is a Banshee out there, but by the time that starts ringing, that is going to be definitely known. Saita finds one. Nico takes a lot of damage as he drops back into statue, gets taken out by Ju, and suddenly it's only 2 members left of Heroic.
10 seconds, they're blustering their way through onto site itself. By the time the animation's done, Exodus has already popped up and put another TT9 round on the board. 5-6. It now sits. All they have to do is try and, well, change the fate of what was potentially previously a 1 versus 1. And we find ourselves from a 5-1 into OT.
The 1v1 we had earlier, not won by Heroic, could be costing them massively now. Dining Kitchen, again, on the board. An extra round is what TT9 needs to pick up points here against the current leading team in the European League. Heroic are looking to close it off here, not give them anything else to ensure themselves 3 points, which, of course, keep them on 9, keep them on that top spot. Round differential won't matter if you are in that top 4 points clear of anybody else down below you. It only starts getting tricky when you start dropping points. That's when the round differential could be meaningful for either making it to the major or just missing out. And of course seeding if 2 teams on the top would be equaling on points as well, but making a major is always the priority. Seeding is secondary.
Elo is forever.
It is.
Heroic. I mean, it's becoming a little bit of a frequency, this, and that's always the worry. The coordination just needs that one final push, one final step, and still, obviously it's a roster that's finding its feet. It's had some major changes coming into this. Some of the most major changes we've had from this roster since it got its statement into CL, let alone Tier 1.
They spotted a player on its chems there, but it was the black eye that was right in line with WTG, so as a result, they have no clue.
That was so swift.
Yeah, and he takes out the Selma. It's not even going to be able to start its detonation sound, and that keeps the pantry wall shut for now. Also gives them the idea, though, that someone's out there. As WTG rotates out, closes the door up right behind him, gives him the opportunity to go for a plant now, but his mission's still waiting. Has a C4 ready to go from WTG. He's just waiting to make that call.
One more pocket EMP as well, so if they want to try and play that trick, it's going to come at the cost of a big rotate. The awareness on whether that wall got popped open, I mean, by the time it was shot out, they're probably still within the audio range, so you can assume they know, and they've got to apply the pressure in a slightly different way. I talked about this in the previous round, is when plan A fails, sometimes you've got to do plan B, but in Villa, it's a big 2-story problem. And that's one where they've pulled themselves back up here to do it.
It's not a lot of room for error here. Nico still up on that top floor as well. Heroic, they need to be very certain of their flanks to be safe. That's a spot of that Nitro cell to not be caught off by that, but that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about Nico being able to go for the strike here.
Exodus takes a big scrap of damage as we get closer and closer towards that minute mark. You can see the top controller starting to entirely flood into the side here of Heroic. Steady. They're not quite throwing themselves so aggressively into the engagement here. They're moving behind the push of the E1Ds, keeping at least a string and a tether between the rest of the team so they know when to move and when to pull back.
Tata down below in the living room, you see that they're not all completely on that side. They want to give themselves some opportunities to fall back and retake if necessary. But with 40 seconds left on that clock and limited control for Heroic on that first floor, I'm really wondering how they want to go for this plant, because if you just look at it, all they have is the top floor directly above the side and Benja on the staircase. That is not a lot. They need to start dropping into the site soon, and that is proven to be massacre.
Here it is, the drop starts to come through on the side of Laundry. Uno's getting himself a bit of a A-line route towards the site. Exodus on the rotate round towards the top. Is he going to be able to get a scrappy fight? He sees the first, but he doesn't quite get the coordination. Tucked in and going for the plant. There it is, Uno just on the corner. Bench is offering all the support that he can. Do they know it's going down? June gets one more. Emission's a little bit too late to the party. Police gets the player out the back door, but they're now in behind Emission, and Heroic somehow just pull it out at the last possible station to get themselves home for 3 points.
It took them a long time, and it had limited control up until these last 30 seconds when, to be fair, it was still very limited. Benja coming down the back stairs and just planting in the middle of that breach. A C4 flying through could have ended all the dreams and hopes of Heroic there and sent us to OT. But there was none on the board anymore as they used them all from up to top, trying to take them out as they hope to get top floor control.
I think there's still a lot for the drawing board there for the side of Heroic. TT9, unfortunately, there is still nothing on the board of points for them, but it was that bitter close fight. When will that be broken? I don't know. We'll leave that after this break for the desk and the analysts to break it down.